So appreciate people making the time to be here. For anyone who could log on, obviously you're very welcome to participate proactively throughout. Um, those who are registered and can't make it, we'll obviously be sending you the link afterwards. But great to see folks showing up here as well. So we're on, as Kira was just saying there, we're on session number 7 of our impact culture sessions. We've had several hundred people showing an interest and a growing number of folks watching the recordings every week. We're really enjoying them, but we'd love to hear from you as well. So if there's other topics that you think are very mantra you want to hear from us about, please do get in touch. In the meantime, today we are talking about vision. And it really resonates with us. Sorry, I'm getting feedback. Is the sound okay for people?
All perfect.
Okay, great. So it really resonates with us. It's obviously very much so in our wheelhouse, but also for those who are new to Mantra, shameless plug, we are all about impact creation through strategy and culture, values, and strategy for us obviously always starts with vision. So today's session, something we're quite passionate about. Just really giving you a quick intro to us before I get into the nuts of the session. We started about 4 years ago, and we're a small but mighty team of people who are all about strategy, culture, and values and human-centered leadership, really. And we know that it works for organizations, and so very much so excited to talk vision today. I just have a couple of our clients listed here. Well, more than a couple, but a good listing of our clients, just to show the fact that we actually we work in a number of different spaces, very much so across a spectrum of purpose-led organizations, and organizations who do genuinely care about doing better through their employees and for their communities and the world. So when we're talking about big, ambitious visions, that's really important. So, and the last slide before I get into talking vision is really just to show you a little bit of what is Mantra's bespoke dream process that we use. This is how we do all of our projects. It's something we've worked on, strengths-based, we've worked on with Learnovate and Trinity College. It's our own model and our own IP, but essentially we will focus today all around the E of our dream, which is engage and envision. And it's really about how we look to the future with our organizations that we work with to dream big. I'll come back to that in our own context about Mantra a little bit later on. So what I wanted to do, if you bear with me, we're going to do things a little bit different today. So I'm going to just tell a story. And I want to tell this short story through pictures that I absolutely love. Our brains all work differently. And for me, pictures, really bring things to life and make me feel things in a different way. So these are some of my favorite pictures. And this is a story about vision. I'm starting with the humble dandelion. And the reason I picked this one, well, it's so beautiful, but also the name really derives from the French term dent de lion. I'm probably doing that a terrible injustice because it's French and I really am bad with accents, but it means lion's teeth. And it is a humble weed, but actually, it has a literal meaning of lion's teeth, but most people across continents from Asia to Europe think about the dandelion in terms of regeneration, in terms of hope. And it's it's a symbol for hope, resilience, and regeneration. And so the reason I'm starting with this picture is because your vision should also tell a story, and it should also symbolize something, like what you stand for, what you're all about. And the next picture I've chosen is a boat. We love a good boat analogy in Mantra, and anybody from Mantra here will know this. But this kind of ship, a vision chosen well, can really chart your course. It acts as a symbol to your stakeholders of who you are, your purpose, and where you're going. So I picked this one just because it's so beautiful, but also because it is really about having a vision that charts that course. Where are you going is the number one job of the vision, what you're trying to do. Bear with me, I have about 8 pictures, just so you know. It can be your beacon, and your problem statement might guide your way. So I have a lighthouse here to kind of indicate, is it the thing that's telling the whole story of your problem statement? No, but it can give that meaning. It can be your beacon. A lot of people refer to it as the guiding star or the North Star. And it can be any star, but it should show where you're going. And often it doesn't have to say where you're not going. My next picture is about the scale of ambition, a term that people who know me know I use all the time. But it's a question to ask in your vision. How big is the scale of ambition? Does your vision reach for the stars? Is the sky the limit? Are you dreaming big enough? Is your head in the clouds? I think that's okay, by the way. Clue for me, dream big. Some organizations can be very literal. They get worried and they veer away from dreaming too big because they think that can never happen. But actually, that's a missed opportunity, and visions really, really should be the aspirational ideal. And so for me, I'm somewhere in the clouds in there, and that's okay. This picture is a picture of a man with a map, and it's supposed to symbolize more the mission. The mission is the how, the map, the way you're going to get there. Right? But the vision should really clarify, help you clarify and give focused direction. Not too narrow focus, because you need to allow scope. And my last picture from my little favorite pictures in the world series is, again, importantly, a vision when it's anchored in purpose and the dream is big enough, it can really rally and unify. So we want to talk today about unifying customers, stakeholders, employees, future employees, fans, admirers, companies who want to partner with you or be like you, whatever that looks like. So the kind of language in a vision where it's about a dream, a world where, an Ireland where, or to really change something, is far more of a rally cry and inspiring language than others. Okay, that's the end of part 1, which is my little picture story. And the next piece we're going to look at is getting you to guess the companies. So we've just picked a few different vision statements. And what I want to do is encourage you to use the chat function to maybe guess any of these, if you know any of these. Some of them are much more obvious than others. And then we're going to show some that we love. So the first one is, sorry now, to discover and expand knowledge for the benefit of humanity. If anybody knows who that is without Googling, let us know in the chat. I should have put numbers on them, but it made it easier. Second, to bring inspiration and innovation. Sorry, I'm trying to move the picture. To every athlete with an asterisk in the world. The asterisk refers to how everyone can be an athlete. To provide access to the world's information in one click. A bit more obvious. I think these are getting more obvious as we go down. And to make the best products on earth and leave the world better than we found it. So, great work on the NASA, whoever came up with NASA is the first one. To bring inspiration to every athlete is Nike. A few winners there. Yeah, Frank is on fire. Google is the click, and Apple, of course, is the products on earth. Very good, great stuff. So What we want to show now is just a couple of our favorites, and it's no surprise when you're dialing into something that's hosted by Mantra. It's no surprise some of the ones that we've picked. So I'm going to start with, sorry now, start with everyone's old favorite. Everyone know who this is? This is a really good example of how an organization can align a mission and values so tight and anchor them in purpose that one clear mission is enough and they don't need all of the different iterations of purpose, belief, vision, mission, etc. This is Patagonia, of course, one of the most amazing companies in the world. They have a brand vision, but their mission is king, and it's around this whole view of their role to be part of saving the world. Earth is now our only shareholder. It comes through in everything they do. It's definitely inspiring. When you actually go to their website, if you haven't done it recently, go again. It's one of the most inspiring places to be and hang out, because they're actually so activist led and passionate that actually it's only when you go way down you get into the products and the sale bit, and it's still all products and sale for good. And so they're one of my absolute favorites. The next one we're going to look at is, anyone want to guess that one? Who's this going to tell the story of before I get into the vision? Anyone know this brand? And you can also speak, by the way. There's not too many of us. That's all good. This is the intro for IKEA. And the IKEA vision, everybody knows it's totally integrated again. Their business story is different, which we'll show you, but essentially to create a better everyday life for the many people. And again, it comes through on absolutely everything they do. Hello, Natalie. See you joining. The IKEA business idea is slightly different. This is more about their mission. So how they're going to do it comes into the detail here, not what they're all about. Ben & Jerry's is another really good example of a brand that has a vision that permeates their values, etc. And in fact, they have the example of when they were under new ownership and it didn't no longer really aligned, they changed back and bought it back and changed over. So I do like them as an example as well. And my last one, before we get into some practicalities of crafting your own visions, is this brand may not be as well known as Patagonia and others, but their motto, this isn't their vision, their motto, if it's broke, fix it. It's the B Corp. So their vision is of an inclusive, equitable, and regenerative economic system. And they have this really powerful, we won't stop until all business is a force for good. Part of their vision, part of their slogan, part of their way of being. They say how, they say what they're doing in their online statements, but really it's for all people and the planet. I mean, you couldn't have something more aspirational and broad as that. So I just want to do two last pieces before we kind of open the floor. So one thing, we hear a lot of people talking about vision, and people sometimes can feel a bit powerless around it. So you hear people say, well, we don't have one, or, you know, ours is really old. It's not for changing. It's not on the table. Our board won't let us near it. Depending on the type of organization, could be a feeling we don't need one. You know, we're really, this is just all we're all about. Others, we get a lot of a feeling where maybe people have had a lot of pain. They've gone through a big process to land on one and they don't want to have to revisit it again or open that can of worms, let's say. A lot of stakeholders involved. Some people feel it is too narrow and others feel it's too broad and vague, or it could be anyone. So we do really hear it all at Mantra. And does any of this resonate with anyone? Anyone want to just jump in at this stage to see, you know, how do you feel about vision before we get into the how we make a good vision? Anybody resonate with any of those statements? Feel free to speak as well as using the chat. Thoughts? Maria, I see you're saying it's nice that we're shining a light on inspirational corporate visions. Yeah, there are many, and the numbers growing, and COVID did an awful lot of work to bring corporates really more anchored in purpose. And you see it across huge numbers of the organizations that we're dealing with specifically, but also B Corp, the movement towards, like when you're buying your Christmas gifting, you know, people are really looking at this, and it's true, they are living it. The B Corp movement, certainly B Economy, really good examples of this. And Guaranteed Irish, which we're also part of, they're also really, really looking for proof of commitment to ESG and corporate commitment to good to be part of that. Anybody want to jump in? No thoughts on your own thoughts about your own vision before I get into, we're going to play a game next.
Did I just add something?
Yeah, hi Liz.
Hi, how are you? I think it's just interesting that I don't think I've ever worked in a corporation that pushed their vision or mission to their employees. I'm now in a new place. I'm in the charity sector now where they are, but it's something that I don't think I've ever come across in years of work. And so I don't know if that's commonplace or other people have experienced that, but there's a reason why the vision and mission is there, but it doesn't translate down, I don't think, to a lot of the
I think you're
employees.
dead right. That comes up in our later kind of tips for what you do when you have it, but also how you get it, but then what you do when you have it and how to keep it really live and make it work for you, because there's no point in developing one and then it's sitting buried on a corporate statement webpage somewhere where you have to search for it and nobody really knows it or believes it. So I think that's a really good point. Anybody else? Anything this speak to anybody else before I move on?
Hi, Lisa Nicole. Can I just add, funnily enough, just when you're talking, Liz, about not seeing it in previous organizations, I was just reading the Robert Walters salary survey that came out yesterday. It's the survey 2025, and it's very predominantly around corporates as opposed to charity sector. But it said that you know, folks were really looking for this purpose-led vision, and this is what is driving talent from organization to organization. And so I do think it's going to become really, really important. We need to get ahead of that.
Yeah. Great. Thanks a million, Sven. Cheers. Okay. So we're going to do a quick thing. You know, I was in the picture mode, so bear with me. And I've one more lovely, colorful picture. If I can get it to come on. There we go. So this is our donkey. Let's imagine we're at a children's party and we're playing a game of pin the tail on the donkey, right? All the things around it are things that are to do with vision, mission, or purpose, but they can be interlinked and related. I just want people to tell me, if this was a vision donkey, what do we think would be definitely on there? And you can use the chat function to just maybe put in what do you think are the things that are key for vision, our vision donkey.
I think, Lisa Nicole, for the charity sector anyway, your theory of change would be important to have in there. Like, what is it that you're trying to change about society with your mission?
So that how you make a difference or what you're
how you make a
trying to
difference,
change.
exactly.
Yeah.
What's your
Okay.
social impact mission
Great.
and vision?
Thanks, Wendy. And actually, you've just been working, you know, in a very purpose-led organization, but isn't a charity any different there? Would it be still similar?
I think so. I think my experience has definitely been that the employees really feel the vision and the mission in the organization, definitely, because it's mental health orientated. It does feel more like a charity sector kind of, you know, social impact led business. So yeah, I think it is really important to share that as much as possible. Like, what is it? What's the overall vision of what we're all trying to achieve? You know, disregarding whether you're a charity sector or commercial.
Yeah. Okay. So what have we got on here? 100%. Thanks. So why you exist? Why bother? Where's the donkey going? What direction and how far? Thanks, Fiona. Yeah, where it's going, the direction you're going, the scale, etc., can go in here for sure. Big dream, aspirational, absolutely. So we'll go to our We'll go to our donkey. So why you exist, that whole direction of travel, aspirational, big dream, and how you want to change the world. What about if it was the mission? Would that be different? And I'll just go back to this for a minute. So the mission, what do we expect to see in a mission? What's it doing for us? Thanks, Sinead. Sorry, to see how the vision translates across the organization. We're going to come into some of those practical pieces now in a minute as well, Gillian. Yeah. So, going to go to 2 slides we've done. So we've got our, it's not flicking on easily for me here, folks. So sorry about that. We've got our vision. Our mission might have how you make a difference, who you serve, target audience, what you do, the key offering, and what makes you different. So essentially, I think it's important to say, this is where you can start to say the how, the what, but it is important that the vision is more about the future, the ideal, the big dream. The purpose might also have how you make a difference, why you exist, the problem statement stuff, your central belief. And I think I see David O'Connor on here. And this is absolutely something that Mantra and David would advocate strongly for, that actually you position the whole organization around the purpose. But arguably the vision should be where it all stems from as well. So we have a few tips, and then we want to open the floor. One thing we wanted to just say is, I suppose, there's a lot of fear around going there. And what if we get going? Is it going to cost a fortune? Actually, what if we go through it all and we end up with just a different iteration of what we have already? Our main advice would be to feel the fear and do it anyway. I was trying not to have all adages or expressions here, but it's very hard not to. The reality is you can actually pull together a full org or team group or a small cohort of your organization and get people to just analyze, is it still working for you? Is it big enough? Does it dream big enough? Is it relevant? So even if you have a 1-year-old strategy of a 5-year strategy, you can still do a critique on your vision. You can do it at any point. Or you can do it as a kind of annual check-in or a kind of checkpoint to make sure that it is absolutely still true. Things can change, the sector can change, the market can change. COVID obviously changed a lot of people. The model, if your vision had been too much the how and the why, you would have definitely needed to look at it post-COVID. But we would say it's okay to revisit it. They don't have to stay fixed and the same forever. You just need to make sure you're connected to it. So even if you don't change it, pulling it apart and making sure it still really works for you is a good thing. However, if you are doing a big strategic exercise or you are looking at your vision because you know it isn't right for you, consultation is brilliant, but we would suggest that you don't have to have everybody deciding on the final iteration. So we all know that if we go through anything, too many iterations, too many cooks, too many opinions, too many voices, not everyone will really understand fully what a vision should be and the job it needs to do. And if you've got too many voices and they're all equal in that process, it really can distill it down to something that doesn't do the job you were hoping to do. The third thing we would say is dream really big. So for community, society, country, or the world, be really aspiring and allow scope within that. It doesn't have to say, it's not your SMART goals. It doesn't have to say by when. It can just be the ideal statement that makes people feel they want to be part of it, which leads us to make it a rally cry. If you use really important to use language that connects, ambitious, exciting. It doesn't all have to be super, super, super positive, but you are talking about an ideal here. So a place where people want to be or where they want to be part of it. A rally cry is really mobilizing. And so language really matters. And then I think to the point, I suppose, that has been made about, actually, how is it then used? And we've one more slide on this as well. We want to, embed it from day one, make sure it's part of all of your communications, your onboarding, how you're recruiting people in. It's something that everyone should connect and align to. They won't always, but it's something they should be able to connect and align to. And so we're going to ask you just in a moment what you would add. We have a couple of other points around keeping it alive and storytelling and all of that. But before I get on to that, let's just pause here and ask people, you know, what have you learned? What are the lessons that you've learned along the way? Or what are the kind of watch points from your perspective around your experience of developing visions? Or have you had no experience of doing this? And what's the biggest kind of concern or worry around it? So we'll just pause for a moment. Again, very welcome to use chat or join in and have a chat here with me. Annabelle, were you going to say something? No, sorry, no speaker on, so I was just guessing.
Frank here.
Frank.
Sorry, am I butting in? I don't know.
No, you're not.
I think it's really, really great, and another great refresher on the importance of this and how purpose-driven companies can do better. I think it was in the Harvard Business Review that they perform like 5 to 7% better than ones that aren't purpose-driven, if not more. Yeah. And from my perspective, I think those rally cries are interesting, and for the day-to-day kind of getting people to remember day-to-day. I remember working in Vodafone, this is like 15 years ago, and they had written on the wall kind of who they are, and it was like red, restless, and rock solid, and it kind of related to their network and their ambitions in terms of how to never stop innovating and the passion of Vodafone colors and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot to be said for kind of like, as you said, okay, the kind of meat and bones of it, ultimately senior management kind of are going to kind of hammer out, but the practical application of it should be really kind of digestible for people, and I think the power is in kind of cascading it through an organization.
Absolutely, and I think that actually relates to Jude. I know I see your note here, you can't speak, but she has a really good point to make. So that relates to it, I think, around the simplicity or the way to communicate it, and whether the same communication is there in terms of internal and external language. So Jude says around is internal vision statement being meaningful in public brand articulation, and I'd love to hear other people's view on that. Obviously it's not the only thing you can have, but what I would say sometimes, Jude, before I bring maybe David or somebody else in who's loads of wisdom in this area, is sometimes what you find is people will create a totally different external thing because the vision hasn't been worked hard enough or doesn't feel like it works for them. But actually, really, as we say around brand and stuff, it's the sum of all your parts. And actually, if the vision is really compelling and dreams big, it should be viable to use as well. But it isn't always the case. David, are you?
Yeah.
I might bring you in just to that point around vision and brand.
It's interesting because this whole area of vision, purpose, etc., can be quite confusing for people. And you look at things and you've got a tick box things you've got to get through. Fundamentally, it's about making meaningful connections. And that's what belief or your vision or your why all does. And it's important that people just don't go through the process of saying, okay, it has to include this, and this, and this, and this, and this. It has to be about making a difference. It has to be about making meaningful connections. It has to be about shifting the dial. There's important things you got to have in it because they're what motivating. And the other interesting thing, I think, was it Frank, you mentioned Vodafone. I think the second thing that I would say is it has to be authentic. Okay. I was Vodafone were my client. In fact, back in the day when Red, Rock Solid and Restless was brought in from the UK and put on the walls, and it was very cool. I mean, and I think that the point there was that it was very digestible, but it wasn't very actionable because actually it wasn't very authentic to the organization. And in fact, 2 years later, they brought in another 3 words, and a few years later, another 3 words. And the problem with that is that actually you don't build a culture where people actually believe what they're doing and are engaged. And it's really important that it's authentic and it's long lasting. So those are kind of things which I could add into it. It's just the core human things have got to be there.
Yeah, I think that's really, really great, and obviously encapsulates a huge amount of what you do and do with us around helping shape these sorts of things. I think ultimately, Jude, ideally, everything is aligned, but they can have different jobs, and I think that just depends. Obviously, brand articulation can get into the slogan or the strap line, and but again, the more aligned they are, the more power they're going to have together. I'm just going to add a couple of other considerations and then talk you through just quickly Mantra's own journey, and then we will go to the floor for anything around. Oh, sorry, there may be something else. Oh, Natalie. Nice to see you, Natalie. So Natalie's point is about Dr. Martens. So they're moving away from purpose-driven marketing and becoming really product-focused. That will be interesting. And I actually hadn't noticed that at all, to be honest, yet. So I'll definitely go and have a snoop now. Thank you. I wonder what's driving that. So a couple of other.
A downturn in. Sorry, just Nicole. A downturn in sales. They're saying that purpose-driven marketing and advertising is not getting the return anymore.
That's really interesting, because obviously, as Frank said, and in all of the research we've done, the stats would show that it really does. Even Patagonia speaks for itself. It's gone through the roof, but it's really interesting. I wonder how they've gone about it. We might look at a case study for that, David.
Yeah, well, that's certainly. I mean, it may well be semantics and how they talk about purpose, because I mean, if you think about recent surveys, so something like 98% of global CEOs see purpose as being critical. And I think, purpose is a driving force. It may well be that Dr. Martens never had a proper purpose, and so therefore it didn't serve them well. And now they're focusing on the quality of the product, because they've got a brand name, they've got a product that is very strong. So I would have to check in on that, but I think
we'll have a look though. It's interesting. The other things, and these have been mentioned by some, but just really, I suppose, key things to consider. And I think, Dari, your comment is there, and obviously I know from us working with Grow, this is always an important kind of thing for after you have something. How is it communicated? Where? How well? How often? Is it just sitting there because it had to be done for a strategy document, or is it something that is, as David says, really authentic, meaningful, and is brought through then how the business operates? Is it founded on shared belief, and is it kept alive? So I think not so long ago, maybe a year or two ago, I was checking in with Pat Denigan in Focus Ireland, because I had worked there so long ago, and talked about their positioning and their values and all of the work they had done around the brand and brand positioning, and the values and the vision and the belief are all so core to just how they do things, how they do meetings, how they keep it alive. And I think that's really important. So we kind of encourage organizations to consider storytelling around this, understanding what the vision means. Like, vision can be set by leaders, but actually does the whole organization really understand why that is the vision, and how far you plan to go, and what's the story and the narrative around it? And I think people really connect internally with that as well. I just want to show you a little bit about our own kind of work. Now, this is pulled from Mantra in year 1. And our vision was a world where companies care more about employees, communities, doing business responsibly, and purpose, where company leaders to frontline employees all know their mantra, enjoy great inclusive cultures, and in turn are more successful, focused, profitable, and impactful. And we had to reflect, obviously, doing this. We don't have that as clearly on our own website as we should, but we definitely do. We definitely do still connect with it, and it definitely permeates what we do. But that was from day one, and we're going to just do a bit of co-creation in the new year to really reflect on how relevant and true is it still for us as an organization. We had much greater clarity around the mission being, you know, really purpose, impact, and inclusion is what we're all about and how we focus. We focus on purpose-driven leaders. We focus on a better world through leaders and brands and the working environment. And so again, we've got to do our own piece of work around checking in with this, making sure all of the stuff that we're going to be doing in 2025 and beyond still talks to our own vision, mission, purpose. And so, and it does, obviously, that does come through in the different services that we have and the way we help our partners to make an impact. You'll have seen Suzanne's on the call here, Bruce is on the call, Kira's on the call. So we are all about purpose and impact and inclusion throughout. And we have a few different ways that we can help you with your vision. You can book in for a free 30-minute session. We're happy to talk, explore, discuss your challenges and problems around it. Absolutely no problem. You could also be booking in. We've got a number of our clients who've already booked in for their vision, mission, values sessions, or you can look at joining the waitlist for our new community, which is launching in Q1. In the meantime, I want to just stop sharing and come back to the final chat just to kind of ask, has anybody, I think there was one more comment in here. Anne has made a comment around the new Jaguar advertising campaign, which doesn't even include a car and centers around a rock and is aimed at the younger market. So, Anne, I don't know if you're still there and want to jump in on this. I mean, I think just the only thing I would say is, you know, advertising campaigns aren't necessarily the same as the organization vision. So there's, you know, there's a big difference. They may go one route with campaigns and marketing, and the vision might be totally separate to that, and that's okay for some things, just to get attention and engage people. But I haven't seen it. I don't know, has anybody else seen that?
I haven't actually seen it myself either.
You just heard, you heard people talking about
it. It was on the radio yesterday, and it was just from the perspective of, okay, the advertising campaign obviously caught people's attention. They were talking about, which is the purpose of an advertising campaign. And I appreciate what you said about the vision not necessarily, or the mission not necessarily being reflected in the advertising campaigns. But I just thought that the succinct bit about the rock and the solidity and the foundation being solid, I thought that was interesting, just that connection. That was the point I was making more than anything else.
Yeah, really interesting. I haven't seen it. I'll be obviously going off to look at these afterwards.
Well, I haven't seen it either, so but I wasn't encouraged to look at it either, for that matter.
No, you're wondering where they're going with this.
Well, they made the point that the car is £100,000 sterling to start with, so not for the average Joe Soap, but I mean, at the same time,
they're trying to say something for sure. It'll be interesting to look into it. I'd love to just know, just from your own perspectives, like conciseness, that point about being concise, not being too vague or too clever. That comes up a lot for us as questions around vision. You know, if you say something that's too vague or too clever, it could be maybe attributed to so many different brands or industries. But the advice is definitely to try and consider being concise, and, you know, not too wordy. And so a lot of I mean, there's a million online blogs and stuff around this, but a lot of the advice would be to iterate, etc. But the conciseness is something I think we haven't really talked about. Maria, you have a question.
More so a contribution. I really agree on the conciseness part. And do you know what strikes me is that sometimes when we generate our mission statements internally, it's almost like we speak our internal language and there's a bit of an echo chamber. And I think what's really important is socializing a new mission with the trustees and with key stakeholders. So, you know, the way we often, I'm going to speak now with my funding hat, you know, the way we often say that funding fuels mission. It's really important for the mission to resonate with key funders, whoever that portfolio of funders is for the organisation, and to even consider if they're key strategic funding partners to socialise that new mission idea with them before you go public with it.
I completely agree. So one of the things that we suggest is, to that point, like consultation and engagement to make sure they're part of it, but then feasibility and testing doesn't mean to say they'll necessarily get final say, but consultation through any part of strategy is always something we really advocate for, plenty of it. And I agree with you fundamentally on that. Any other questions from those who are still here around an issue you're having, maybe with your own vision, or any other contributions of your own experience of vision gone good or bad, wrong? The good, the bad and the ugly is all welcome here, just so that we can make this as useful for people. Last couple of minutes, you can use chat or join in here, and we'll obviously be sending around the slides, which were very picture led, but we'll also send around some prompts that can be helpful for DIYing, but we would encourage you to book in as well for your sessions. Any other questions?
Thanks. Yeah, I was just going to say hello and hi. Thanks, that was really good. Yeah, I have my colleague Kiva here beside me as well. Hello. I think we've just started this year. I started in January, so I'm nearly a year with Guaranteed Irish, and it's just lovely to see, I think, culture and our mission and our values are really something that's valuable to the team, and also it's put a focus has been put on it that we all live by them, understand them, and from the board down to our CEO and to us and in all of our comms. So, you know, and I think, as you said, it's always worth looking at how we can, we're communications, marketing and PR here, so how we can bring it into exciting new forms of communication, but definitely keeping it simple and not too complicated. And again, like for Guaranteed Irish, it comes down to trust and you know, the national symbol of trust, and then trust in everything that we do. So but it's really good looking, kind of thinking about other brands and other companies and how they communicate what they're trying to you know, the perception of who they are and in reality as well. So yeah, I think we're lucky that we have new enough, all of, I think 2023 there was a reset of our beliefs and values, but then it'll be great hopefully meeting you guys in January, I think, and we'll be able to
away day session.
Yeah,
great stuff. I actually didn't even realize you were on the call, and I managed to give you a little plug anyway. There
I heard I was on off screen, but I heard. Thank you.
Good stuff. No, look, I mean, I think Guaranteed Irish, obviously, and many of our organizations, we work with our member organizations, and so they're dealing with huge numbers of other brands and their visions, their values, or whatever, and you have to align and whatever.
Yeah.
Seeing all the values around you. We did do a whole session on values, and values are a really important part of the pie, the strategy pie. The vision piece for me is something that actually people often think vision and mission are so interchangeable, and they really should be doing different jobs. And so we love to meddle even when we're told not to, don't we, David? I know David is
absolutely.
We love to meddle even when they say no, you know, let's not go there again, let's not open the can of worms, because really actually it's a really good check-in on
come back to the vision.
But thank you for joining today. It's lovely to
have you. Not at all, thank you.
I have promised to get people off the call by now, so we are going to round out, but just again to say thanks to everyone who's been part of these in 2024. It's been a learning curve for us. Thank you to Kira for making them happen, and Dami, who are here and on the calls. And we will be continuing in some guise, mightn't be as often, but we will be keeping doing them in the new year. And we hope to see you all back at future sessions. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.